So I want to add the extracted displacement map that I made, or I extracted out of Mudbox. I want to add that to the shader that I built here in Maya. So if you remember, I went under Windows, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. That gave me this Hypershade window. I clicked on Surface and then used the blend to make a brand new shader. When I did that, I changed the color. I can pick any color I want. Okay. Give that a name. Let's call that clavicle demo. So that's my shader. Now you can see I have other shaders on here right now. And when I render it, it doesn't have any texture. Let's take this clavicle and let's find the one we just made. Right mouse on it and say assign material to selection. The other thing I can do is middle mouse and drag on there. So in this case, I'm saying right mouse, assign material to selection. In the other case, I'm middle mouse dragging onto the surface. It doesn't have to be selected. It just has to be, that plus symbol has to get on the bone. Okay. So those are the two clavicles. Now with that, the sternum has its own shader on it. It has one called sternum, believe it or not. Now from the attribute editor here, I can click on this little icon, which means output connections. And if I open this option, the shading group attributes, there's an option here for displacement material. Remember, this checkerboard means you can add things. You can go find items. In this case, I want a file. This is the placement node. I don't need to change anything there, but I do have to get on the file. Go to the browse icon. That folder means browse. And then find from my project directory a render data. That's where I saved when I extracted the map out of Mudbox, I put it in the render data, and then in a subdirectory called shaders. And there's the clavicle one I made. Now it's assigned to that shader. So theoretically, if I render this smoother thing should change. Whoops, I put it on the sternum. I'm sorry. I'll fix that. I thought I was working with the clavicle. Let's see what happens now. There we go. So now the sternum, the displacement map, matches the texture map here, the UV map, and we get a decent. So let's do it again, this time for the clavicles. Let me see if I can keep this straight this time. Again, I can go to the output connection. There's nothing there. Add the option file. There's my, went right to the file this time. Again, here's my browse, and this time I need the clavicle. So now again, if I re-render, I should see the clavicles improve a little bit there. And there you go. They've got that texture that I put on. So you can see both clavicles change simultaneously because the shader is on both of them. So once that displacement node is on, since this one is the mirror of that one, or the original, or vice versa, I don't know who the original was anymore. Okay, so that's how we do that. So kind of summarize again, we have our surface. It has a shader that's been assigned to it. In this case, it's a blend. All the shaders, whether blend or any other kind, will have an input and output option there. If I click output, it takes me to the shader group for that node, the SG there, shader group. This displacement material will be empty. If I click on the checkerboard when it doesn't have an option, it will take me to the library there, or the Hypershade list. I pick the file and then use the browse icon to find my matching displacement file. And that's all we got to do.